Welcome to the Speak by Design podcast, where we study personal style, message structure, and message strategy so you can become a consistently compelling force. Let's dig in. Great leaders invite tough conversations, and all leaders need to expect tough conversations and even plan for them, create them. We want healthy conflict. I'm always impressed when I work cross-culturally and see companies in other parts of the world, so non-American companies, that are very comfortable disagreeing with one another in a public group setting, and they disagree clearly, emphatically, even with emotion, and they rebound very quickly afterwards, and they feel closer because of the conflict, that the conflict is actually building thicker, closer relationships. And I encourage more North American countries, and I know there are other countries that need this as well, but I'll pick on my own for now, that we could be better about inviting and appreciating that healthy conflict. So leaders, expect tough conversations and invite them. What's an example of a tough conversation? It's when you have to tell someone that they made a mistake. And it's when you have to acknowledge that you made a mistake. Those are tough conversations. It might also be you telling a partner that their work isn't great. That could be a vendor, that could be a partner organization, that could be a peer. You're telling another senior leader that their work isn't great, or you're receiving that piece of information where someone is coming to you and saying they are not happy with your work or your team's work or your company's work. Those are the types of conversations we need to expect. When someone cancels a contract unexpectedly, a customer, or when there's litigation unexpectedly, and now you have to speak to a law firm or lawyers about something. Those are tough conversations. But if you have big goals for your company, big goals for yourself, big goals for your team, you are going to have higher stake communications, and you can handle it. And that's belief number one, is that you are prepared and equipped to handle those conversations. So that's belief number one. But then think about the style of which you want to handle these conversations. We are working with an organization, and everyone in the organization we've met is so pleasant, except for the controller. The controller in this organization writes us the most negatively charged messages, and all about our contract and our billing, to the point where it is making us feel differently about the whole company. And we're people who have to care about the people we're coaching. But because this person is being so rough on us, they are causing friction in the relationship that is making us not as excited to work with this company. Style matters. When you're having a tough conversation, the tone, the language, the reactions you have over email or in a live interaction all affect the feelings of the receiver of the information. So keep that in mind, that anytime you put words in writing or words come out of your mouth, you're sending two messages. One is the message, the concrete message of the question, the substance of what you're sharing. But the other is the relationship message. And in a tough conversation, that relationship message matters. Think about in a divorce situation. If you're choosing a divorce attorney and you have one that has a really rough manner, a dangerous style to the way that they behave and speak, versus one that is very empathetic and compassionate and peaceful, I would always choose the latter, because you know that person is going to be more effective in getting both sides to listen. In a tough conversation, you need a compassionate approach. That fire and brimstone style of speaking is coercive and only works short term. but will cause a lot of friction and maybe even destroy the negotiation at some point if that person doesn't know how to modulate between a compassionate and aggressive style. And aggressive in a tough conversation does not work. It might seem like it will work because it's so strong and it gets a lot of attention, but it often leads to a negative outcome. I'm watching all the negotiations going on with the auto workers. I'm based in Detroit, and the auto workers were very successful last year in getting a pay raise, but here we are a year later and they're shutting down plants because they're not profitable anymore. And that short term view of forcing people to agree to something often leads to a longer term negative consequence. It's important to have a long lens on these tough conversations and not a short term view. Leaders have to be able to say no and expect to be saying no daily. That no, we're not going to work on this, or no, it's not the right time to do this, or no, I can't share that information. That's confidential at this point. Or no, we don't have enough information to take action yet. Or no, we aren't sure that that is our target. But saying no faster in many conversations actually does create more efficiency and build trust with audiences. Every time you have a no type message, so here's an example of one. If somebody says, Stephanie, can you guarantee results from coaching? And I say, we cannot guarantee that a person will sound like a TED Talk speaker by the end of this training experience. That is up to them and how much they take the lessons and apply them. We can lead a horse to water, but we can't make them drink. So by my saying no, that degree of skepticism toward the process, or me saying that that's not possible, actually does build trust because you, the listener, understand that I'm going to be straight, honest, and direct of what we can do and what we can't do. And leaders need to be able to speak that way. We can do this, but we can't do that. And they need to be able to speak that way to their board, to their management team, and even to the public. When we are coaching people who are preparing for tough conversations, the biggest hurdle and the biggest breakthrough comes out around the mindset. So we were working with an attorney who said that his hardest part of the job is when he expected a better outcome in the litigation, and now he has to go tell his client that they weren't able to achieve that. And he's so worried about the conversation. He's so worried that the client is going to be disappointed in him. So, what we worked on with him that I hope is helpful to you is that he is failing in that tough conversation ahead of time in his mind. He is imagining that that conversation is not going to go well. What's helpful about that is that he can say, oh, here's where I could make the conversation better. But instead, he goes a step further to just keep imagining a poor, unsuccessful, negative, emotional conversation where what would be better, a better use of time, a more constructive use of time, would be him imagining the conversation going well. That he's going to be honest, he's going to be straightforward. We didn't get the outcome we wanted. Here's what we did get, and here's what we need to do going forward. And he can still acknowledge, I'm sorry we didn't get the outcome we wanted. Here's what we got. Here's why we got it. Usually a little justification is needed. And here's where I think we can go next. Or here's where I'd like us to go next. Or here are the options for where we could go next. But making that organized and peaceful and expecting that that's part of your job. You're always delivering a message like this. And the more often you get comfortable having these tough conversations, they are no longer tough. You can reframe them in your mind as important conversations. So identify for yourself, what are those tough conversations that keep coming up? Is it related to surprises or quality of work or policy changes, litigation, like I mentioned, findings from reports? Whatever those tough conversations are, can you be systematic in figuring out what is the best way to structure delivering that uncomfortable message? What does success look like? Because success in a tough conversation might only be that you relay the information. You're not going to get them to clap and smile and laugh and look joyful in a tough conversation. Maybe the only thing you need to feel successful is heard, that you believe they heard what you had to say and they accepted it and they were satisfied. Like, satisfied as an emotion is a success. We don't want these tough conversations to lead to despair, resentment, bitterness. Leading to a satisfied state of mind or emotion is a win, is a real win. Another tip I give people for tough conversations is know how you want to begin and know how you want to end, and leave the middle up for listening. Just listening, asking, probing questions, listening. But if you know your opening, which your opening might be something like this: Mary, I'm coming to you as soon as I found out we made a mistake in the report we gave you. And everything we recommended, we need to rewind and refocus on. I'm so sorry this happened. At this moment, it's only my team and you that know about this. No one else in the organization does. We can work together on a plan of how we want to approach sharing this with the rest of management and the board. That might be all I need to share. Then we can dialogue, and I'm going to let Mary ask questions. I'm going to respond in a peaceful, compassionate, understanding way. I am going to convey confidence in my body language, in my voice. I'm not going to look panicked, embarrassed, ashamed. I'm not going to bring those emotions into this. I'm showing my own resilience as a leader throughout this conversation, but I'm listening, listening, listening. And then I know at the end, I'm going to say something like, Mary, I know this is not what any of us wanted to spend time on this week. And I'm appreciative that you heard what we had to say, and you know that we will make every effort to never let this happen again. Thank you for your support. So I know my beginning, I know my end, I know that in the middle, I'm going to listen, listen, listen. I'm going to be patient. I'm going to add lots of moments of silence so that Mary can have whatever emotional response Mary wants to have. I'm going to convey confidence throughout the entire meeting, and I'm going to listen. I will say I'm sorry once, but I'm not going to say I'm sorry 10 times in that 30-minute meeting. And it's going to go well. It's going to go as well as it could go. It is a tough conversation. It is an important conversation. And I believe Mary and I will be closer, a better team for having gone through it. What's important about this becoming a positive memory is that the next time a mistake happens, and I know I said this will never happen again, but I might say we don't want this to happen again. But let's say a different type of mistake happens again. I can come to Mary and say, Mary, we had a surprise again. I know we'll get through it just like we did the last time. Here's what we know. Here's why it happened. Here's what we're working on improving. And I'm open to other suggestions. But because I'm comfortable escalating these problems to Mary, and we have a track record of working through things together, I'm expecting that we are going to work through this successfully again. But if I come in with the energy of, we failed you again, we messed up again, I don't know what's wrong with me or this team, that is not going to produce the confidence and trust that I want with Mary. You being able to handle the tough questions from an audience is a sign of your strength and maturity as a leader. You being able to pull out the other person's emotional response and realize that what they're frustrated about is usually nothing to do with you. It's that they wish they had been more involved, more thoughtful in the planning, that they had monitored the situation better. They're almost always mad at themselves. And then it's you helping them forgive themselves for their role that they might have played in this as well, so that you can stay focused on going forward. What can we change and do differently and improve so that the next time this is even easier, or maybe there is no next time? Now, I focused on the you acknowledging that you made a mistake and escalating that, but sometimes the tough conversation is you telling them that they made a mistake. If they know they have made a mistake and you're coming in to tell them again that they made a mistake, I encourage you to go gentle. They don't need a beating, they don't need a pile-on of acknowledging how deficient and bad they were in the way that they did something. Instead, coming in as a nurturing parent, a nurturing voice, and saying something like this: Michael, you know what you did. You know what the team did. Going forward, what are your thoughts? Now, if I say going forward, that is me saying we don't need to belabor the past. What's our plan going forward? Michael's going to really appreciate that. And I said, you know what happened. You know what you did. We don't need to spend time on that. What are we doing going forward? For the situation where you need to deliver the tough message of this isn't working and you want it to be heard very strongly, I've encouraged some people to put that in writing and then ask for the call. So, in writing, you might send an email that says, Mary, we need to talk. This cadence of communication isn't working, and we're not going to be able to move forward if things don't change. When can you talk? Two opening sentences that identify the problem and a request to speak. Then, when you get on the call, that's when you can highlight how much you care about Mary, how much you want this to work, and why it's not working, and ask if they can make a change. What often happens, though, in this situation, when you've written that strong note, when can we talk? They will offer a solution by email back to you, or as soon as you get on the call, they will start offering a solution of what could make it better. Those approaches, you get to decide how much you want to strengthen the relationship or create some shock and awe. And as a leader, sometimes you need a degree of shock and awe to get the right level of attention. Let's say I need to deliver a tough message to the consulting firm we've hired for a big initiative. I might call the consulting firm for a conversation and say, this isn't working. We're spending more than we'd like, and we're not receiving the level of attention and quality we would expect from a company like yours. So, in delivering that upfront, I could then stop and say, I want to hear your ideas for how we can get things back on track. That might be all I say at the beginning, and then I'm in listen mode again. And then I plan for what I'm going to say at the end, which might be keep thinking about opportunities for improvement. I'm not satisfied with what you suggested today. I want you to keep thinking and send me a written proposal. Or I say, I'm delighted with what you've shared with me today. I still think we have a couple of other areas that could improve. Can you put this in writing to me to give me more time to think about it and add on some additional thoughts? I'm really appreciative of what you've shared so far and value our partnership. Those are two effective options. The first one, I would not like to receive that message. It would create some fear in me The second option, where you're ending in a much more positive, relationship focused way, would give me hope that we are getting things back on track. The first option puts the ball in the consulting firm's court. They need to come up with a better solution and plan. They need to document it as a proposal. The second option sounds more like we're going to work on this together and collaboratively, and it focuses more on the relationship. Either could work. You have a lot that you can play with when it comes to your mind and the way you deliver and conduct a tough conversation. I want to leave you with two skills to work on as it relates to tough conversations. The first one is your belief that that tough conversation is just an important conversation, not a tough one. It's an important one that is going to lead to a better relationship and getting projects back on track. But the second one is how important it is to listen during an important conversation. Dial up your listening, which means stop talking. This is about getting the other party, the other people in the room to talk. You can have the opening and the end. You can have a few sentences, but you are not there to dominate. Unstructured dialogue is the way to build trust with other senior stakeholders. Remember that. And expect tough conversations. All right, I hope this has already helped you feel like these conversations are easier. Take care, everyone. If you are enjoying all of these lessons, but now you're hungering to turn all of this into skills and habits that make this work intuitive and natural so that you don't have to think about it, then you want to join Speak by Design University. That's our coaching program that gives you private coaching, group coaching with me, group training, self-paced learning, as well as exceptional networking with other people like you. This program is for managers and above, people whose careers are on fire and they're looking to hit their next level, and they want to do that sooner rather than later. Check it out at speakbydesign.com/join. That's speakbydesign.com/join, and you can start with us at the 1st of next month. We hope to see you there.